compendium is your eidetic compendium once you get it in the mages, whatever. The thing is that the person who's reading the book has to have discovered the book in the game. Essentially what this does is it opens up the person's codex. It's as if I went to my codex, let's say, my lore library, and I just went to Sigic style number 61. That's literally what this is doing. It's pulling open a book out of your own collection. So the reader's collection, that's all it's doing. It's using the UI to do that. So we'll add the book, we'll do any single volume intricate, any single volume worn. So you take your pick on what you want it to look like. I just added the intricate. And it's right here. You see it? You can change the way that it looks. You don't have to have it look like that. You can add, yeah, I got it already. You can add colors. You can make it look different. Like, for example, I'll make it a blue book, right? Fine. Then what you do is you go into this section. You pick whether you want to show off crafting motifs, eidetic memory, or Shalador's library. Oh, okay. Allow me to do it again. What I said is that what this actually does is, all it does is it goes into your UI and it pulls out, you see how you go into your lore library? All it does is it basically, for the reader, it will pop open whatever the reader knows. If you select that book and the reader knows it, it will pop it open. But your reader has to have learned it. For example, if they don't know this motif and you want them to read the motif language, they have to know it. Otherwise it won't show anything. It'll say, you don't know this book yet. Which is fine. Just be aware that's a limitation. Then you go into EHT, select Essential Effects. You pick, if you just want to do one book, you're going to want to pick whichever one you want. Inset, worn, intricate. I like intricate. You want to select your book. You want to, if you want to change the color of the book. That's fine too. And then you're going to have to go into select this part. Do you want it to pull a book from crafting motifs, like one of the motifs? Do you want it to pull from Shalador's library, which is one of the lore books? Or do you want to pull it from eidetic memory, which has all these different things that you've learned over time? For example, personal journals, whatever. And you can select any of these personal journals that are in the game, presuming the person has found it, which is, who knows, right? I don't know if I've even found this one, Cadwell's Deep Thoughts, and then I did. So since I know it, when anybody bounces over it, they'll see the title. They'll see Cadwell's Journal, Deep Thoughts, Part 412, right? Even if, as long as they have EHT in community, whatever, even if they don't know the book, it'll still tell you the title. When you left click, here you go, it'll pop open the book. And there, if you know it, if the reader knows it. If the reader doesn't know it, you're screwed. The other thing you can do is add just the folium discognitum in general, which is Shalador's. You read it. You can select, this is what the reader sees. They can select anything and sit there and read it if they want. You know, let's say, oh, I want to read this. And then they want to oh, I want to read this. So what this is these are the compendiums. No, you cannot add custom text yet. Maybe one day. Which is why what I did in my other house, the house you just saw, the Mornoth one, what I did was I actually read through all of the books, and then I found one that could be part of a mystery. So I picked eidetic memory, final words, and then I put think it's Periite, last letter to Periite, or it's under Daedric, one or the other. I found a book that worked, for example. I did it memory. Daedric cults, letter to cultist, Periite cultist letter, something like that. It's somewhere in here. And what it said was, oh, I poisoned the well with the flu in honor of you, Periite, yay, yay, yay. You know, that whole kind of thing. So I made it a story. And here you go. And then I based it off of that. So, we must maintain account of the population of Narcissus. With so many already fled to Mournhold, the number we have to work with has dwindled significantly. If we abduct too many of the villagers, the Lodos Plague won't have victims to take hold of, whatever. So if you want to build a mystery into your home, you can drop a specific book, just like Zas does, and build a story around the journal or the book, whatever it is that you select to do. And I did that in my Mornoth house. It's a story about a Periite cult came to town, poisoned everybody, and the last book you find in the last spot you look is a confession that he poisoned the well. And so I have the well right next to it with a bottle of poison open. That's something you can do. Unfortunately, you can't add custom text, but you can work with what already exists. I hope that's not too much information and too heavy, but it's something that I like to do. And then you can always change this to something else, you know. Final words. Here's a good one. Final words. Imagine putting this next to some dead body you have, right? Let's say you have a dead body, like one of the corpses we have, and you'll read "Read gently." And this, you're welcome, will be here next to the dead body. Maybe put some rocks over it. And it says, "I'm so sorry we tried to dig you out, but the shaft started collapsing around us. I played none of you suffered long. I will personally tend to this flame." So put rocks over the person, put a candle next to them, and you have a flippin' story that you can build into your home just by using the books in EHT. So that's how that works. I hope that's helpful. And that's what I did, and what I try to do, or teach people how to do with those books. I know other people had questions. Here's the way that you can get around the wanting things to have text kind of thing. I'll show you a picture, but I'll give you an idea of what, if you want to create your own text in something. I've actually done that. I created a book, and it was how to kill people or how to kill cows or something like that, and I put it in my house for J Hart to find, and it was just silly. There is a text option that you can use in EHT. Here's a good example of it. I like this one. This one's pretty. See this? This is a beautiful poem or something by Nixtrix. This is just leaning on top of a beautiful, you know, it's just something for you to read on the back of some carved stone. But if you wanted to make the writing small enough, you might be able to fit on a cover of a book. Or, I don't know that all this would fit on the cover of a book. Sometimes I'll use parchment, and I'll show you how to do that. And I'll try to put the text on top of the parchment. It's an imperfect system, but it does work. So let's say you want to write something out. What you would do is you go into decorative, there's a parchment. Parchment, you can use scroll, fancy, bound. I typically use fancy, whatever, it doesn't matter. So here's the fancy scroll. Fancy parchment, rather. And that's just paper. So then you go up a little bit so we can see it. And then we'll make it bigger or smaller, you know, whatever size you want it to be, but we'll start kind of big so that you can see what I'm talking about. Then you go into text, which is another section in effects. Text. Where is it? Text. And then you have to pick one of the not so great image fonts. None of the fonts are all that fantastic. I gotta be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you folks. You pick the text. You change the color to whatever color you want it to be, and then you type out you do that. I hit something I shouldn't have. Stabby. Set. Why are you being stupid? Stabby is a streaming potato. Set. There we go. There it is. You make the size smaller. Height. Position. If you do this just so, and you gotta line it up just right so that it's properly placed. Excuse me, I do this by a little bit too small, I think. There, yeah, come on. There we go. Now you have Stabby as a streaming potato. This is not ideal because you're gonna have to do, you know, different lines of it or something like that, and you're gonna have to, I mean, it's all in effect. Unfortunately, text on paper does not do well in terms of flickers. Even if you line it up perfectly, there's always a little bit of a weird flicker to it, or a blanking out sometimes. It's not doing it right now, but if this is a way you want to do this, you can do this. I've seen people do this with recipes. Like they'll type out a recipe so that you can, you know, sugar and spice and everything nice. I forget what the entire recipe was. But people have typed out recipes. People have done all sorts of things like this. This works. Let me show you what someone else has done. And then there's this one, for example. Oops, wrong one. Wrong window. This one, see? Free for public use, pull to open police public call box. See? This isn't, that building is entirely made out of effects. There's nothing but effects there. Those are all effects that people have made, and they've layered them and they put words on them. So that gives you an idea of something you can do with your own text, but it's not going to be as elegant. It's not going to be as well done as, for example, what we were just talking about, unfortunately, with the books. So that's that. I mean, does anyone have any other questions? I know a lot of you have questions. There are some real problems with saving right now that I'm dealing with for Cardi. The ones that I know of is that people cannot export saves to. People can't do copy paste saves and then export them for anything over 700 items. It tells them to split it, or anything up to 700. But it's inconsistent. Sometimes they can do it for all 700 items, and sometimes they can do it for 500 items. You know, it gives them an error inconsistently. So what I would suggest is that if Cardi can, or if Architectura can, up the limit to 700 instead of 500, because it's silly to have houses that have 700 items in them and have a limit for 500 items in the export. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I would appreciate it if you changed that, if you can, of course. The other problem I'm having that people are having with saves, I've already gone over. There's a weird save issue with pulling this up and then doing revert to last save sometimes. Like, sometimes it'll show you 0 items. Other times it'll show you all of the items. It's inconsistent. I cannot reproduce it every single time. So luckily I did a video of that. I sent that to Cardi, and so now I'm going to tell him about the other problem, which is the export. If you know of other problems there are right now in EHT, let me know, and I will try to reproduce them and put them on video and send them to Cardi, because it seems to be the best way to get things fixed. And I apologize for things not being a bunch of items together, huh? I know that rotate was broken in small increments, but that was fixed in the last couple of updates, like in the last 3 or 4 updates, they fixed that. I will test that out later. They'll rotate a bunch of items together. Sometimes some rotate and some not rotate. Sometimes what I find is you have to let it take a few moments. But let's test it with my candles. Why not? Sometimes you have to let it take a few moments. So let's do radius, and then we're gonna do clear everything. Clear everything. We'll do a radius. All right. Let's select you, and then we'll pick all of you. Group select again. All right, and then let's try rotating. All right, let's do a small increments. Right. I see them moving, but it's probably just like with everything else. It's probably inconsistent and hard to reproduce when it works and when it doesn't. But what I found is if I do like a lot of them like that in a row, it'll take a while for them to turn around. Sometimes I think it's best to just do rotate, wait for everything to move, then rotate, wait for everything to move. You know what I mean? Like, just letting it go slowly rather than double clicking, even though it's obviously more convenient to double, triple, and quadruple click. It's just a thought. But the bugs I've been finding have been inconsistent, and so I can't even reproduce them half the time. So I apologize. I wish I could. So I'm going to call it. Let me see if anyone else is streaming who is... There's only K-Pow and Madigan. That's probably true. Alright, I'm not going to drop you off with anyone because I don't really have anyone. But I will catch you all later. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. And area, I'll keep testing that and see if I can reproduce it. Alrighty, I'll catch you later.